Hello and welcome back to Curious Pri. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon so you don't miss any of these legends and stories that still shape us today. So today we're diving into one of the most dramatic, controversial and fascinating moments from our history in the Mahabharata, the swayamvara of Draupadi, the princess born of fire, and why she ended up with not one but 5 husbands. Well, this story has prophecy, vengeance, pride, heartbreak, and destiny. So let's begin. It all started with King Drupada of Panchala. Long ago, Drupada and Dronacharya were actually childhood friends. As the boys studied, they became really thick, and Drona once even saved Drupada's life. So they promised each other that when they grow up and Drupada would become a king, his kingdom would be shared between the two of them and they would continue to help each other. Now, when Drupada actually grew up and became a king, he clearly forgot his promise. So Drona came to see him in poverty, seeking help, but Drupada mocked him. Friendship is only between equals, he sneered. That insult cut deep. So Drona vowed for revenge. Years later, as guru of the Pandavas, he used his students' power, especially Arjun's bow, to defeat Drupada. In front of all, he seized half of Drupada's kingdom of Panchala. Now imagine Drupada's humiliation. His pride was shattered, and in his heart, vengeance burned like wildfire. So he turned that fire into a ritual. With sages Yaja and Upachaya, he performed a yajna, a fire sacrifice. Into the flames, he poured his fury, his humiliation, his desperate prayer for children who would be born to avenge. From that sacred fire, destiny answered. First came a son, Drishtadyumna, destined to kill Drona. Then came a daughter, dark, radiant, and her eyes glowing like embers, Draupadi or Krishna. She was not born of a mother's womb, but of the fire itself. And with her came a prophecy. She would one day bring ruin to many kings, and her life would turn the wheels of destiny. So when Draupadi came of age, Drupada organized her swayamvara, the ceremony of choosing her husband. But he made sure that it would not be an easy one. So on a grand stage lay a bow so massive that even seasoned warriors struggled to lift it. And above, a golden fish spun on a wheel. The task: shoot an arrow into the fish's eye while looking only at its reflection in a pool of water below. The challenge was not just about strength, but focus, precision, and mastery. Now, kings and princes gathered from every corner of Bharat. Jarasandh, Shalya, even the most striking of them all, Karna of Anga. One by one, rulers attempted. Some failed to lift the bow, others missed the mark. The hall basically murmured with disappointment. And then Karna rose. Karna, tall, broad-shouldered, his golden armor shining like the sun. With ease he lifted the bow, and the assembly gasped. Many whispered, surely Karna is going to win. But at that moment, Draupadi herself stood up. Her voice was clear, sharp as a sword. I will not marry a Sudputra, the son of a charioteer. The hall froze. The words struck harder than any arrow. Karn's face burned with humiliation. He lowered the bow and walked away, his heart heavy with rage. That insult stayed with him all his life. deepening his enmity with the Pandavas and Draupadi herself. Now, after Karna, silence hung in the hall until a Brahmin youth stepped forward. Simple clothes, calm, and this was Arjuna in disguise. With serene focus, he strung the bow, aimed through the reflection, and released the arrow. It pierced the spinning fish's eye. The hall erupted. Draupadi placed the garland around Arjun's neck. She had chosen her husband. Well, or so it seemed. The Pandavas, still living incognito at the time, brought Draupadi home. Excited, they called out to their mother, "Look, mother, what we have brought." Kunti, without looking, replied, "Whatever it is, share it equally amongst yourselves." Her words were quite innocent, but in that world, a mother's words were considered sacred law. And strangely, they aligned with an old prophecy that Draupadi was destined to be the wife of not one man, but 5. Now, the sages explain that in a previous life, Draupadi had prayed to Lord Shiva, "Give me a husband with every virtue, strength, wisdom, beauty, patience, and valor." Now, Shiva smiled and replied, "No one man is going to possess all of these. So in your next life, you will have 5 husbands, each one embodying one part of what you seek." And so fate, prophecy, and Kunti's words kind of all came together. Draupadi became the wife to Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva. But really, what is Vyasa, the author of Mahabharata, really trying to tell us through this? That dharma is never simple. It bends and stretches not to break morality, but to serve a higher purpose. Draupadi's marriage was unconventional, but it bound the Pandavas together as one. And then that words have power. Kunti's careless sentence reshaped history. Speech once uttered is like an arrow, impossible to recall. And finally, that women are central to dharma. Draupadi was not a silent prize. She was fiery, questioning, and became the moral compass for the Pandavas. Some scholars like Dushyant Sridhar explain this beautifully. Draupadi's marriage wasn't indulgence, it was discipline. Each Pandava observed strict rules on how and when could they be with her. More than that, Draupadi was the glue, the flame around which all 5 circled. Without her, the Pandavas may have been splintered apart. With her, they stood united. So she was not just their wife, she was their conscience, the spark of fire and dharma embodied. And what does her story tell us today? It forces us to wrestle with questions of choice, consent, and destiny. Was Draupadi empowered or was she constrained? Well, perhaps both. She didn't quite submit in the dice hall. She questioned kings and elders and exposed hypocrisy. Her dignity, her voice made her unforgettable. Chitra Banerjee Divakarani's novel, The Palace of Illusions, takes this even further. It lets us hear Draupadi's own voice, her longing for Karna, her jealousy, her pride, her frustration at being shared, and her secret desires. It reminds us that behind the epic's grandeur was also a woman of flesh and blood with a heart that questioned her fate. Well, if this story lit a spark for you, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And tell me more in the comments below. I will see you next time with another episode. Until next time, stay curious.